Soccer Today is brought to you by Passion Soccer Boutique, available everywhere at passionsoccer.ca for the love of the beautiful game. You are listening to SPN, the Sports Podcasting Network.
Kelvin und Axel Schwarzenegger.
Ya lo hace, pierna derecha, directo al arco, golazo, 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 golazo.
This is Soccer Today, live on SPN Radio, your new live show about the beautiful game in all its glory, with Duane, Rollins and Kevin Laramee. MLS, EPL, La Liga, Champions League, all is fair game. Powered by the Sports Podcasting Network. Visit us at sportspodcastingnetwork.com.
And good day, good night. Welcome to Soccer Today. Kevin Laramee, joined by Duane Rollins on the phone as well again. Duane, since yesterday, there's quite a news that broke out. And first of all, it was reported by ESPN FC midday yesterday that Ballou wants to leave Montreal, wants to try Europe. And slowly but surely, it was confirmed by other sources, and the club decided not to comment on the situation, which usually confirms things. It's not just said, no, it's a rumor, don't worry about it. Now, the official response of the Montreal Impact yesterday was, we don't want to comment on the situation. So apparently, young, uprising, maybe Canadian, maybe Ivory Coast international Ballou wants to leave Montreal.
Yeah, and when I first heard that, my first thought was that the best for the kid's development? And I mean, I guess obviously he thinks it is. So that's the important thing here. As you said, the Impact not commenting on it is sort of an indication that obviously it's true that what we're hearing, which is that he has asked if he could be moved on, and the suggestion we all know that he has a bit of a relationship with Drogba. And that Drogba was impressed with him and has tipped Chelsea off for him. Chelsea does have a history of signing a lot of younger players too, which they then immediately loan out. So I think that there's a sort of logic to the idea that that might be what's destined for him. That he might be en route for being part of Chelsea's loan army soon.
Maybe I have a situation and a solution to resolve everything. How about you tell Chelsea, okay, buy him out, but loan it to us for a year? How about you buy him out and we're going to keep him on loan for another year and a half? So he stays here. We're happy. His paycheck says Chelsea. He's happy too.
I was actually talking with that very idea with someone, an Impact fan from Montreal, obviously, and well, not obviously, but a Montreal fan yesterday about Ballou, saying that very thing, that maybe the best scenario, the best kept idea for both of them would be for Chelsea to buy him and then loan him back to Montreal for the year for him to continue to develop. Because that's my worry, is that he's going to go out and get into a loan army situation and maybe get into a place where he's not going to get the amount of time, amount of love that he would otherwise. Because as much as we'd like, it'd be really exciting for fans of Ballou and Canadian fans, at least until he decided to go somewhere else. If he does, they'd be excited by the idea of having a name like Chelsea behind him. But if he was to slip away and not get the type of development that you'd like, which some of those guys do, they have the throw the spaghetti at the wall technique for signing young players. Chelsea does, because they can afford it, right? They throw the spaghetti on the wall.
Whichever one sticks is ready. Yeah. But when you're looking at the Ballou situation, and it's always more difficult for us in North America, and yes, I'm saying for us and I'm generalizing here, but just bear with me for a second. Duane, we're used to the team before the individual. We're used to what's best for the team and not necessarily what's best for the player development in the short term, long term, mid term. So for us, when I see a situation like this, it's a shame. I would have loved for him to continue and thrive and grow with the team, because, well, in North America, it's about the team. It's about the process. It's never necessarily about the individual and how he can become a better soccer player down the road by maybe moving a clubs and academy now. So we'll see how it unfolds, but there was that sentiment on social media yesterday from the Montreal Impact fans where they were like, well, you know what? You don't want to be here? Just go then. Just go. If you don't want to be with us, if you don't want to be with me, then just leave me. Why make it so difficult? So, and there's another sentiment too of, look, maybe you need to be a little bit more established at your own club at the right moment. You almost need to be starting 11 day in, day out. And is Ballou there because of injuries? He was not necessarily at the same level as he was a few weeks ago. And because of injuries, he's not getting the playing time that he would love to have. So there's that. There's the fact that it still was a fringe starting 11 player, Ballou, over this year. When Piatti was injured, it was easier for him to get a starting position. But Ballou needs still to this day to fight for a starting 11 position. So how different would it be somewhere else? Well, the grass is not always greener somewhere else.
No, precisely. I mean, you said that the reaction of the fans, good riddance. If you don't want to be here, go away. That's kind of the North American mindset coming out, as you said, right? Like, a Montreal Canadian player said that, you'd exactly what you'd say, and you'd be right in that particular case. But
yeah, he would be traded the next day anyways. Like, as soon as he finishes that sentence, there's a GM somewhere calling the Canadians like, yeah, I know you're getting rid of him, so how about we make a deal?
Well, they traded Patrick Roy. And that's, if you're going to trade that big one, you're going to trade anyone that said that, right? So,
and let's not go to PK Subban too. So exactly.
Yeah. So precisely. So that's the mentality coming out there. But I think that in this particular case, it's a bit different, as you say. It's about, the MLS is not a top tier league yet. It may never be. Maybe it's a second tier league. I can make that argument some days. Maybe some people might think it's a third tier league, but the reality is you have to go up those pegs if you want to get your career advanced. And even from the perspective of the Impact, and if you're an Impact fan listening to this, you think what the Impact need to do is get the most value out of it that they can, because if they can get more value out of it, then they can then spin that to get a player that might be able to contribute more now. Ballou, as you said, he was a fringe player in the lineup, and he wasn't necessarily going to be a contributing player, maybe not even next year in terms of day in, day out. This could be a superstar for sure, but if you could get a lot of money for him now, and you could spin that into 2 or 3 MLS lifers, guys that can really make your team solid, get that spine solidified up, and you can excel further quicker. So that's good.
I was not expecting this to happen this week when exactly 7 days ago, 6 days ago, I asked Don Garber in a press conference, what is the league intending to do to keep players like Ballou and Jordan Morris and Davies in the league? Well, it turns out maybe that time is going to come quicker than expected.
Well, and I think that this is going to be the case, and you've seen a bit of it with Carl Arn as well. I think if Carl Arn didn't have the legal situation surrounding him, that camp might have been pressuring them more to move him on quicker. So the fact that there sort of saved them in that, but this is just a situation. You're going to see more and more of this as the academies get further developed too. Guys that aren't even fully established as MLS starters yet, kind of having that potential that allows them to be real assets for these clubs. And that's the vision that these clubs are sold on when they start their academy programs too. I know in CFC's case, when they took it to the MLSE board, that's exactly what they said. They said, look, I mean, you may think $20 million is a lot of money, but we produce 1 star, we're going to make that back, right? Especially if you have a sell-on clause.
No, exactly. And today there's one game on the docket in Europe that's getting attention, of course. It's the UEFA Super Cup. So we have Real Madrid versus Manchester United. Are you going to watch the game, Duane? Are you putting a lot of importance on this Super Cup?
I am in a family outing, so no, I will not be watching the game this afternoon. But if it was on normally and I wasn't out with the family today, I would probably spend a few minutes, just like I spent a few minutes watching the French Super Cup, and I watched the Community Shield the other day, and we didn't talk about that yesterday, and the ABBA penalty kicks, which was, I think, the only talking point that came out of it.
Yeah. That and Thibaut Courtois hitting the first penalty kick. What was that? But that's something else.
Yes. And by the way, my story on the my position on the ABBA friendly kicks is I want them to continue, but only if they play Dancing
Yeah, I
Queen.
was kind of in the background.
Yeah, Dancing Queen. that would make them better. But at any rate, no. You know what?
There's
all
other
of these
ABBA songs
Super
though.
Cup,
Like, come on, there's better than Dancing Queen you can put in the background. I don't know.
Super Trooper.
I don't know. I'm trying to remember another ABBA song. And
Man After Midnight. Yeah, I'm actually a pretty big ABBA fan.
Mama,
So,
here I go. Mamma Mia. Here, put Mamma Mia in the background.
Waterloo, maybe.
Right.
It's your Waterloo. It's where you end. If when England's participating in the penalty kicks, it has to be Waterloo that's playing because they're meeting their Waterloo. At any rate, we've really got off kilter now. We should put some ABBA in the bumpers.
Yeah,
the Super Cups are something to whet the appetite for the real stuff, which starts on Friday.
And before we go to the break, Duane, there was a trade yesterday. Lamar Nagel back to Seattle for the third, fourth, fifth, sixth time. I don't know, but Nagel's going home.
Yeah, some players do that. It's kind of a neat in MLS's evolution that you have players that are associated with clubs that have gone and left and came back and so on and so forth nowadays. I think that is kind of a neat evolution that you have. You know, even 10 years ago when TFC came in, it was still kind of anonymous and the players would come and go and weren't really like club superstars now. And you have that in places, guys that became legends at the clubs that aren't necessarily, they're always legends, but they were like superstars that were brought in and became associated with them. But now that you have these guys that just are kind of just normal players in many ways. He's a decent player, but you know what I mean? Like he's not a global superstar. And I think that's kind of a neat evolution.
Absolutely. Let's take a break and come back with the Canadian Review.
You are listening to Soccer Today, live on SPN Radio. Visit sportspodcastingnetwork.com for more.
And we're back on Soccer Today. Duane Rollins and myself, Kevin Laramee. Duane, Canadian Review, yesterday's show was busy and we had to end abruptly, but Canadian Review last weekend, all Canadian teams of Major League Soccer were in action, and, well, a little bit of everything. If you're looking at one way, Canada's undefeated, but only one team got a win, and it was a much-needed one of that.
No, that's exactly where we should start. We talked a little bit about TFC yesterday. I don't know what more to say, but it was just one of those games. But the impact, that was massive. Is it too early to say that was one of the most important wins the Impact have had in considerable amount of time?
Yeah, and the way it happened, too, and coming off a terrible, and that's the word of the players themselves, terrible outing last week against New York, 4-0 at Red Bull Arena. This week was kind of gut check time. Not just 3 points, but Orlando is a team that's directly fighting with the Impact to get close to a playoff spot, to get back to that battle, basically. And with that victory, Montreal's getting 3 points, but they're taking 3 points away from Orlando in a game where they were 1 goal down. And that's a lot for a team that has struggled to score and maintain leads over the last few months. This was huge.
Yeah, when you're playing that team that's right on the red line, and as we said the other day, I think that the battle to get to the playoffs is really one of either getting six or bust at this point. And you look, you're getting behind the 8 ball, and if you get that 6th place, at least you're in with a chance. You've got a lottery ticket, and that's all the Impact would want in this particular case from where they're at, and that would be a remarkable turnaround. But yeah, they needed those 3 points. That was vital for sure.
And Piatti was back being Piatti, and it's just confirmation of what Nacho was telling me last Wednesday after the All-Star game. He's slowly feeling back to himself. And we saw that. For Montreal to be successful, not only do they need Piatti to be who he usually is in Major League Soccer, which is in the MVP conversation at least, but you need Zamali to be there as well. You need both of them to be there at the same time. Because of roster choices over the last few months and last few transfer windows. and this one here too. Those two players are your go-to option, and you need those two players to be your best two players for Montreal to have a shot at victory. And if those two players are on, not a lot of team like Orlando had their A lineup out there, Duane. Like Laren with newly acquired Dom Dwyer, Kaká, underrated Noferino in 2017. Iguita, which is very underrated, but is one of the key players for Orlando. Like they had their A lineup, and Montreal was able to not just get the win, even though they got a goal down. They were playing in a fashion where they kept it simple. They kept it short passes, high probability, high percentage passes that helped them move forward. They were breaking down the defense, at least to the box, and that's something we haven't seen in Montreal over the last few months. And it's progress in play, progress in results. At least it's a positive game for Montreal, this one.
No, absolutely. I mean, you got to be a little bit frustrated that you couldn't have that the week before when it was also a vital game, but nonetheless, a good bounce back. And as you say, if you can get the superstars going, then that's why people haven't completely given up on the Impact just yet. This is a team that was in the Eastern Conference Final less than a year ago, and they have the potential to get back there again if they could get into that lottery draw. If they could get that ball in the mix for the playoffs, then you'd have to think that they have a chance. So there you go. On the other side of the coin, though, Orlando, I don't know if we want to talk about them at all, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not the best. Well, Laren scored his first goal since, well, you know what? So there's that. Yeah. It was an interesting goal, the way it happened.
And on Canadian soil. So, okay, maybe he's not jinxed up here.
And not the only Canadian scoring, because Jackson and Mal, we talked about Ballou in the first segment. Well, Anthony Jackson actually is a Canadian international. And he is scoring goals. And that was his 6th of the season, his second game-winning goal this year with a great performance in late. Like a super sub comes in, gets one opportunity, and buries it. And that's how hot Jackson is this year.
It is indeed a great thing for him. And for sure, it's nice to see that. Absolutely. Just go back to Orlando for a second. I was asking this to some Orlando fans. If they don't make the playoffs this year, is Christ... do we have to start reevaluating whether or not he is like a top-class coach in this league? After you look at what's happened in New York, you look at what Vieira's done after he went in there and instantly turned that around. I don't know.
We don't know what happened in New York, right? What happened in that offseason? What happened in that conversation in that boardroom meeting? I don't know. Something somewhere happened for Jason Christ to be the man and not be the man anymore for New York. And now Orlando is year 2.5 of Jason Christ in Orlando now. We'll see where it goes. But Orlando, with the amount of money in the stadium, in the team, they kind of figured 3 years down the road that they would have resolved this year. And the way they started the year 6-1 was great. But now they need to continue that in time, and consistency has been quite a problem for Orlando, which consistency has been a problem for a lot of teams this year.
Yeah, well, exactly. You mentioned that 6-1 start, and now here they are falling off the map, so to speak, right now. If you look at the record from the 6-1 start, they're one of the worst teams in the East for sure. So that's got to cause some problems and concerns. I mean, the only thing I will say with Christ is that maybe he hasn't had enough time to put his vision in there. Maybe he doesn't have enough players to fit that vision he has. But certainly, you know, it's kind of troubling to me. Perhaps I can't help but think there's a 2.0 situation going on there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, let's just Toronto. That red card. What was your opinion?
I thought that I don't know. It was kind of one of those borderline calls, and a lot of people were frustrated. I think that it wasn't necessarily given a review. The VAR stuff for the first week, you know, we kind of knew that going in, but I think a lot of fans weren't necessarily aware of it. So there was that issue there as well. But
the thing is the video assistant referee checks everything. So he checked it, but there was no omission and error in the play, in the opinion of the video assistant referee. So the video review was not triggered by the referee down the field. It wasn't triggered by the video assistant referee. So there was no quote unquote review, but the play was checked. Like pretty much every play is checked.
Yeah, the North American fans are used to the idea of having like it stopped and there's flags thrown and there's challenges and et cetera, and that's not what this is supposed to be. So, and I hope it doesn't ever get to that, because that would be where I might walk slowly into the St. Lawrence River if that were the case. But that's nonetheless, it's still frustrated people to a certain extent, I think.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, what do you take for Toronto? Does it change anything? Is this draw a negative, or was the victory there for the taking for them?
I think the fact that they clawed back a little bit was okay, but certainly it was frustrating to draw a team of that nature. So it was not the best idea. They're not the best game altogether for sure, but you got to move on from that. I mean, Victor Vasquez said that he hated the fact that he lost a stupid 2 points, and that's kind of how I think about it. It was a stupid 2 points to lose, but they lost them and they move on.
And the last game for the Canadian teams last weekend was Colorado at Vancouver, and Vancouver, at Colorado. 2-2 draw, Colorado 2, Vancouver 2. Well, rescue the points for Vancouver. They were down goals, and Montero tied it late to make sure that at least get 1 point versus the pretty terrible Colorado team.
Well, yeah, the worst scoring team in the league, and certainly the Whitecaps continue with up, down, up, down, up, down in my mind. And, that said, Colorado maybe has turned around a little bit. You saw them get the draw in Toronto. They played a nice organized style there. Not much to say really with those games like that. And the Whitecaps they seem like they're going to sort of sneak in there just above the red line, and we'll see what they can do when the playoffs roll around.
All right. As always, you can follow Duane on Twitter at 24th Minute and myself at Kev Laramee. Stay tuned to our social media to make sure you never miss a live show. You can follow the show at Soccer Today SPN and the network at SportsPodNet. 2:30 today, you got the UFS Super Cup available on TSN and RDS in Canada, and pretty much wherever you're used to following the Champions League in your own market. And as always, until tomorrow, I'm Kevin Laramee for Duane Rollins. Well, have a great soccer. You were listening to SPN, the Sports Podcasting Network. Visit us, sportspodcastingnetwork.com.